This video I'm making today used to have a far different opening beforehand. I was trying to make some big, elaborate point about the legacy media based on the journalist I'm going to highlight today, but I sort of discovered halfway through, like, why am I doing this? I think the most salient point I could make is that some people in the legacy media suck at their jobs. When I say suck at their jobs, I don't mean that they're biased and that we don't like them because they're clearly liberal hacks pretending to be objective. Everyone kind of knows that. Evan Solomon, I don't like him. He's clearly a left-winger pretending to be a conservative almost in order to try and trick conservatives into thinking that his brand of leftism is somehow at all related to what they should be believing. But Evan Solomon's a professional. Evan Solomon is very polished. He's very good at what he does, and he's very subtle at sort of putting in anti-conservative narratives into the way he talks about issues, especially whenever he has a conservative on his show, and he acts like they're being somehow like contentious or offensive by just being conservative. Evan Solomon's an issue, but that's a very different type of issue. I want to talk about Rachel Gilmore today, who is a global news print journalist, and she also makes some TikTok videos. Rachel Gilmore proves that a lot of people in the legacy media are just bad at their jobs. They're anti-conservatives, but they're so anti-conservative and they're so bad at hiding it that they become just the best examples of why the legacy media is just rotten to the core. And the funny thing is, with Rachel Gilmore being an obvious anti-conservative, no legacy media person will ever disown her and say that she does bad work. Yes, she's just a anti-conservative attack dog, and she's clearly just putting out opinion pieces and pretending like they're objective news coverage. No. Legacy media journalists will cover her all day long because I think they lack the self-awareness to realize how bad her own reporting looks. When I say that Rachel Gilmore's content is bad, I don't mean it's bad in the sense that all legacy media reporting is bad, and like, well, of course, it's all like biased to the left, her content's biased to the left is bad. I mean her content's bad even from a liberal propagandist perspective. Her work is so sloppy and obvious in what it's trying to do that I think even the most amateurish media consumer would be able to tell and would then reject her premise. Like recently when she reported on Pierre Poilievre marching next to James Topp on Canada Day, she literally said in her headline that Pierre Poilievre is associating with someone with far-right ties. Now, what she means by far-right ties is that James Topp went on Jeremy Mackenzie's show and talked to him about him marching across Canada to oppose mandates. Now, I personally don't like Jeremy Mackenzie. I know tons of the people he associates with. I know a lot of the things that he personally believes. He's like either borderline or is a white nationalist and anti-Semite. I have really no respect for him, but I don't have any idea whether or not James Topp knows any about that stuff about Jeremy Mackenzie. They're both military veterans. I doubt that James Topp would have really looked into him any further than that, and Jeremy Mackenzie was willing to interview him when none of the legacy media would interview him about his march across Canada. So yeah, like there's nothing there to insinuate that somehow James Topp actually knows anything about what Jeremy Mackenzie believes, and even if he does, we don't really have any strong evidence to suggest that. When the best quote that Rachel Gilmore could pull in her article from that interview was him saying, "I appreciate you guys like giving me a platform and whatnot," and when he said "you guys," it was in the context of all the independent media people interviewing James Topp and getting his anti-mandate message out there. But this is supposed to be, this is information that Rachel Gilmore thinks is worthy of trying to hang Pierre Poilievre with. Pierre Poilievre just marched down the street with James Topp for several blocks or so, just talking to him, like just shooting the breeze, and then he moved on. But somehow Pierre Poilievre is supposed to do a background check on James Topp, know everything about James Topp, and know every single person he's ever talked to, and know what they believe personally. And he's supposed to associate with people based on this incredibly high standard. Like, you could associate with nobody in politics if this was the standard. Like, every single liberal in the Liberal Party cannot say that they don't have a friend who's done blackface. Just saying. But Rachel Gilmore thinks that this is some sort of hard-hitting piece of journalism, even though she got made fun of immediately because of how silly this entire framing of an issue was. She even then got mad at people like Mark Saplinski from Toronto 99 and some people from some other independent media outlets who covered her story, saying that somehow they were out of line for calling her out for smearing someone's reputation, acting as if they were smearing her for trying to insinuate that Pierre Poilievre hangs out with people who are okay with white nationalists. Gilmore is a master of projection. She legitimately doesn't seem to think that she can be wrong in any way, so she can smear Pierre Poilievre on all of his supporters by acting as if they're somehow in league with someone like Jeremy Mackenzie, but if you call her out for this about smearing someone, then you're smearing her. it's a ridiculous way of living, and you can tell that she really has sort of internalized this sense that I'm part of the legacy media, I'm important, don't you know who I am? It's incredibly funny to see, because almost half of the stuff she puts out these days on Twitter always has to be with people coming after her. And I saw recently she posted something about how she got a death threat on the phone, and while that's bad, you're an idiot if you send any journalist a death threat. Everyone gets death threats who works in journalism. I've gotten death threats, and I don't tend to post them because who cares? They're pretty much all fake. No one's ever going to do anything, and a lot of people just like to bluster around on social media. But her entire brand at this point is she's this put upon female journalist who's just trying her best. It was hilarious. Actually, it was like a month or two ago she put out something about how hard it is to be a female journalist. Then when other female journalists from the independent media said, no it's not, stop trying to make yourself seem so important, she immediately attacked them as somehow being sexist, as if women calling her out for just being flat out wrong about something means that somehow she's being like attacked by the patriarchy. Another story that Rachel Gilmore put out recently was this silly story that, well, it's not really a story, it's a headline, because all of her stories are really just the headline, that Russia Today was the news outlet that covered the Freedom Convoy the most. Who cares? I could care less who covers what the most. It really doesn't prove anything, but she's kind of doing this weird implication as if Russia Today covers it the most, then somehow the Freedom Convoy must be getting checks from the Kremlin. It's foolish, but her whole thing is that somehow if I can just name check bad people or bad organizations or even bad countries in a story about something that more conservative mainstream people support, then I can somehow make that thing bad. Like at the end of the day, who cares what Russia Today covers? If anything, it would just prove that Russia sucks, so they'll cover things that make other world leaders like Justin Trudeau look bad to make Putin seem good in comparison. But this is exactly what I mean by drive-by shooting journalism. The tactic that Rachel Gilmore uses is she finds a couple bad people, couple bad organizations, or a bad country like Russia, tries to generally kind of crowd them into the same area, whether or not other people have done anything wrong or not, and then uses the fact that she's taking shots nearby Jeremy Mackenzie or something like that as justification that she hits people like Pierre Poilievre, James Topp, or the Freedom Convoy. She can just mow down an entire crowd of people in this metaphor, and it's all okay because, hey, at least she got her guy. It's an incredibly unethical way of working, but this demonstrates how bad the legacy media has become in Canada. And she's the sloppiest kind of purveyor of these tactics, which honestly I think just kind of goes to show that the legacy media does not care about quality. I also previously mentioned that Rachel Gilmore makes TikTok videos for Global News, and I'm kind of just doing this because I find it funny. It's hilarious the amount of money that the legacy media has, whether from their own profits or from subsidies from the federal government, and they produce this low effort, low quality, low information content, and then they have the gall to look at the independent media and act as if somehow we're really not up to snuff. So just look at this video right here where she really jams in a lot of projection, a lot of just flat out falsehoods under the guise that she's informing young Canadians on TikTok.
Some Canadian politicians have been getting closer with the far right, and experts are getting concerned.
Yeah, the experts that Gilmore's referring to is people from the Anti-Hate Network who were caught spreading fake screenshots purporting to show that Freedom Convoy supporters in Toronto were handing out anti-Semitic flyers.
Here's what you need to know. In recent years, politicians from around the world have toyed with far-right ideas, from spreading unfounded conspiracy theories about the World Economic Forum to amplifying populist ideas from the fringes of society for political gain.
Oh no, people are making up conspiracy theories about the World Economic Forum? Would any of these conspiracy theories have anything to do with the things that they publish on their own website or the things that they say at their own conferences? Like, can she point out one WEF conspiracy that isn't true? Like, I disagree with people when they say that someone like Justin Trudeau is a literal puppet of the WEF, but the whole point is he's ideologically captured by them, or at least promotes a lot of their crazy ideas. She doesn't name one, and then she moves on like, oh my goodness, people are using populist ideas from the fringes of society. Like, I agree there's fringe people out there that I don't like, but she doesn't name one because she's just trying to be vague, as if every single thing that conservatives say these days might be influenced by someone from the populist fringe.
Now, back in January, I reported that a number of key convoy figures had made racist comments and had links to white supremacy. One organizer wore a hat and hoodie bearing initials believed to belong to Soldiers of Odin, an anti-immigrant group first established in Finland. Another prominent convoy supporter has posted a video where he shared the race replacement theory, a theory that was thought to be a motivating factor in a mass shooting back in May. Despite a reporting months ago, a number of MPs met with key convoy figures in June, but not the ones I just mentioned.
Yeah, it's like the MPs didn't actually meet with any of those people because you're lying. Those two people that you're referring to were not convoy organizers. They're clearly crazy and everyone condemned them. In a movement of hundreds of thousands of people, clearly you're going to get nutcases, but again, Rachel Gilmore really doesn't care whether or not they're real organizers because she's just trying to use them to smear people who are the actual organizers.
And even marched with James Topp, who has spoken out against vaccine mandates and spoke at the Canada Day convoy protest. This has some experts worried extremism could become mainstream.
So you saw there in a 30-second TikTok video, which I'm very sorry for subjecting you all to, she couldn't actually make one far-right connection to mainstream conservatives. The closest she got was naming Jason LaFace in the Sons of Odin outfit, who I've talked to. He is crazy. I don't like him at all. And I think she was insinuating Pat King, and she was saying that because conservative MPs met with the real convoy organizers, ergo, they're somehow connected to these other people who they didn't meet with, who weren't real organizers, and who the real organizers condemned for saying crazy and stupid things during the convoy and having nothing to do with the movement. That's what she considers good, like, quality journalistic work. And she's putting this out on TikTok, and I wouldn't doubt that there's a lot of young Zoomers and people in the generation underneath that, I don't know what it is, would actually believe this crap. Because to a certain extent, people will kind of just believe whatever the legacy media says just because it comes with the brand, even though you have clowns like this working for them. Now, there's just one more thing I want to talk about here, because it sort of partially involves Rachel Gilmore, but it more so just connects her back to the rest of the legacy media, who are absolutely committed to each other's false narratives. Even if they don't work at the same companies, they are in league with each other's fake news. So Rachel Gilmore, and I'll put the tweet up beside me, literally retweeted this tweet from another legacy media journalist claiming that CTV News' Glenn McGregor was attacked by Tamara Leach supporters when she was let out of prison. It's insane, this claim, that somehow Glenn McGregor, when he literally physically threw the front of himself against the backs of Tamara Leach supporters who were kind of mobbed around the door when she was walking out of prison to cheer for her and give her hugs and whatnot, that Glenn McGregor, he was the one being assaulted. Like, I know Glenn McGregor's a ghoul, but I'm pretty sure he can't physically pass through people like a ghost. But somehow this means that he was being physically assaulted because he starts throwing up his body against people like he's trying to get into the NFL, and someone had the audacity to turn around and give him a shove here and there because he was literally attacking them with his body, because I guess as a legacy media journalist, he's like entitled for the interview with Tamara Leach after she gets out of prison, despite the fact that he's probably been one of the most unfair and dishonest journalists to the convoy and to Leach over the past several months. Well, anyways, I guess I'm just going to leave it there. I'll see everyone next time. If there is a next time, let's hope there is. Have a great day, everyone.